She's the only one of the family.
But she's not my granddaughter. She's my great-great-granddaughter.
No,
I know she's my great-granddaughter. No, anyhow, we won't discuss it. I thank God for what He's done for me. I got saved when I was 15 years old. And I got saved in a Holy Ghost-filled Baptist church. And that's what it was. It was a Holy Ghost-filled Baptist church. And, you know, at that time, I didn't know nobody. Me and my brothers, my sisters. They come in with me and they came to church with me, and we sat over on the other side of the church, and we had, you know, I enjoyed church, and the Lord blessed me. And when I was 15, I got saved. And by the time I was 16, I was baptized. Then I met the love of my life. He was in the church with us. He sat on the other side of the church on the front pew. He was like the associate pastor. And he was Brother Lloyd. That's all I knew. He was Brother Lloyd. And he thought I was married and had 4 kids. Because I had 3 brothers and a sister that always come with me. No mother, no daddy. And whenever, after I got saved and baptized, well, when I was getting baptized, my stepfather and my mother come to church with us. And of course the kids then, they was sitting with them. And, but they, then he realized I was single. Can you imagine that? And then he started flirting with me. That's what I say. I told him, I said, you started flirting with me. It's sparking me. Yes, that back then it was sparking, but anyhow.
Is that what they call it?
That's what Tim says. Anyhow, we ended up at 17. I had a lot of problems growing up. My stepfather molested me several times, not just once, but several times. And then my mother stayed in bed all the time, sickly. She was sickly all the time. And my children don't even hardly remember my mother. I don't know. Do you remember her, Anna? But I didn't know if Anna even remembered her, because she didn't have nothing to do with me. Because whenever I got married, she burnt all my clothes in my house. Everything that I had, she burnt. She wanted nothing to do with me. And I know. Okay, come on. Excuse me. I've got a problem.
No problem.
Yes, I got a problem. I got a granddaughter that loves me. And I thank God for that. But, now she's looking back at me. But I thank God for those children that need someone to love them and to care for them. I really thank God for them. And I've had lots of them in my life. But when Lloyd and I got married, like I said, my mother burnt everything I had in my house. She wanted, and I took just barely clothes to change into and all this. We went to the line from Texas to Louisiana, and I walked across the line because I wasn't 18 yet. I was still 17. I walked across the line and had a man watch me. And I went to my dad's in Louisiana. And after I got there, I found out him and my mom had never divorced. wasn't divorced from her. And so it wasn't like I had to walk across the line because I was just going to my dad's. And I thought, but they wanted Lloyd kidnapping
Why did you walk across the line?
to keep Lloyd from being charged with kidnapping. Because he thought my mother was divorced and married to Roy, my stepfather. And I walked across the line to keep him from being charged with kidnapping. But anyhow, after we got married, of course there was, back then it was a waiting period. You had to wait 3 days to get married. So my grandmother's was with us because my mother was, like I said, she was a problem. And my dad was working, so, you know, my grandmother's was with us. And I thank God for my grandmothers, both of them. They're both gone now. And, life went on. Lloyd and I went back to our house, to his house where he lived. And I found out my mother had burned all my stuff. But I managed with the clothes that I had, you know. Then I got pregnant, wouldn't you know it. And I had a beautiful boy. But I had him at 8 months, cesarean, because the doctors, I kept going in and out of labor. At 7 months, I went in and out of labor, in and out. And the doctor got tired of checking on, got tired of fooling me, so he just cesarean me at 8 months. Took the baby, and then Anna was born 2 years later. No, 3 years later. Sorry. 3 years later, and she was born cesarean also. And then, of course, we went through a lot of trouble between him and her, and because my mom, she was pain in the neck, and she would give us a lot of problems. But, you know, God is so good. He's so good. We went through a lot of hardships. A lot of because of my mother. Come to find out, he wasn't my stepfather. He just lived with my mother. But we went to this church, and this preacher friend of Lois was free to come preach. And Lloyd wanted to go see him, so we went. And Anna, like I said, she was probably a year old, you know. And this preacher called me, I was sitting back some, and he said, I feel as if you come up here. I said, me? He said, yes, you. And he kept pointing me out, and I said, me? Yes, you. So Lloyd had the 2 kids, and I went up there. He said, I want you to sit in this chair. And I said, yes, sir. I sat down in that chair. I obeyed him. I was a good girl. And he held my feet out, and one foot was shorter than the other. And I thought, golly, I didn't know that. You know, it was one of them way up. I didn't know that. He said, we're going to pray for you. When he started praying, something popped in my lower back, in my pelvic. Popped like you wouldn't believe. And he was holding my feet just like that. But something popped in my back. He said, now you'll be able to have all the children you want. I said, yeah, I ain't having no more. Guess what? A year later, I had another daughter. She wasn't no little one either. Rachel was 10 and a half pounds. 10 and a half pounds. She was a biggie. But I had her full term. Then 1 year later, guess what? I had another one that was 11 pounds. But a pound of it was hair. I'm going to tell you, a pound of it was hair.
And where were they born at?
Oh, they was born at home because the hospital wouldn't take me and let me have them natural. Back then, in, and if you had a cesarean, you couldn't have a natural birth. So I stayed at home, and Lloyd and my neighbor delivered both of them. And it was hard. I'm not gonna lie to you. Taking care of two babies was like, and I had twin brothers. I took care of twin brothers, so it was like having twins all over again. But we kept them in church, and we went on down, and things happened. And of course, I've lost Alan, my oldest one, and I've lost Rachel. And she was my second daughter. So all that's left is Anna and Becky. The oldest one, the youngest girl. And as far as I know, they're both living for the Lord. Whatever they have no life. Because there was a time that they lost them. They all got away from the Lord and so I thank God that they're living for the Lord then. And but Lloyd had been thinking and praying about this coming up here and living. I thought, Lord have mercy. We'd come up here on vacation when Anna was just a baby. We'd come up here on vacation and loved it. Stayed for a week and then camped out the whole time and loved it. It rained every day, but we still loved it. It's just beautiful up here and we loved it. So we went back down to Texas and like I said, we went on with our life and it just kept bothering Lon. He wanted to be up here so bad. He wanted to be up here so bad. So him and Alan rented a truck, which was my son, rented a truck and we moved up here. And we lived up here for almost a year, right at a year, and things got real bad with Lloyd. My husband had a problem. He had a real problem. He had they called it cellulitis. I don't know what it was, but he had had big blisters come on his leg. And I mean, not little blisters. I'm talking about huge blisters come up on his leg. And from his knee down. He couldn't work. He worked for a while. So we had to go back down to Texas. My stepfather come and got us. And we went back down to Texas and lived with them for a short time. I mean, it was a short time till we could get us a place there. Deweyville, which was right there close to them. And we lived there for years. And then after we got that, moved to Beaumont, Texas. We moved there and we lived there. And I lost my dad while I was there, and I lost my mom while I was living there on Shoulder Street. Not Shoulder, I'm sorry. That's another street. But when I was younger, but on 11th Street. But we, no.
West Avenue.
West, thank you. I have to have my partner. We lived on West Avenue, and I lost my mom and my dad both while I was living there. And then Lloyd decided, it's winter time, he decided we was coming back up here. We loaded the truck up, and he came back. And but when we got back up here, we had a lot of problems on the road and everything. God, did we have problems. We got stuck on the Hot Springs Mountains. I went off the road.
Okay, Mama,
What?
you're confusing.
Oh.
We got stuck in Hot Springs when I was a little girl. When we come up here from West Avenue, I was bigger. That was after you lost your mom and daddy. And that was Easter Sunday in April.
Whatever. God, whatever. I can't remember all the dates and times.
Who's telling the story?
Yeah. So maybe she should have. Maybe she should have given my testimony. And she was about
Yes.
The last time?
Yes, and I was 5 when we come the first time.
Oh God, that's a long time between, wasn't it? But anyhow, like I said, Anna gives us lots of problems whenever we get up here. And she went off on her own. And then Alan went to the Marines and he done his thing. And, he done all his problems. And then Rachel graduated from school finally. Becky got married in between that. She's my youngest. She got married at a very young age. Had 2 beautiful children. She really did. Matter of fact, her son goes to church regularly. He's very important at the Parkland Baptist Church. Him and his wife, and so he's a big wheel there. And then, of course, Christy don't go to church. She still works and has part time, and that's Becky's youngest. And then Becky, she lived with us for a while, went off, got married again, and when her dad got sick, she come home, stayed home and tried to help me, but she was working a full-time job. I don't know what the helping me was, but anyhow, she said she'd come home and help me, and brought her husband that drank like a sieve. And of course he didn't drink in my house, and I didn't know he was drinking on my property. My husband would have come unglued. He would have come up with a broken hip and everything and got up and told him what to do. But anyhow, he they ended up divorcing because of all of his drinking that he done. And he was a stunt guy. He was on TV. He was a stunt man. And then after they divorced, she lived at home for a while, but we didn't ever see her. She worked and went off and done her thing, and then eventually she went to Memphis. Met a guy at Ramsey's, and they went to Memphis. Well, he lived in Memphis. That's where he was from. She married him, was with him for quite a few years, and he died. And I thank God she's married to a Christian man now. He's a minister, and he serves the Lord. His dad is now in the nursing home and can't hardly go, so y'all be praying for him. He went up there this week to be with his dad, and he was telling Becky, called back, he said, I can't do this. He said, I can't do this. She said, yes, you can. And, but be praying for him because he's not in good health, so he needs our prayers. And he's also a minister, so, and his mother works in the Church of God church there, but it's not the Church of God on the 7th. It's the Church of God on Sunday, that they go to church on Sunday. She's the secretary, and she's in her 80s. She still works 3 days a week at the church, taking care of things in that office. And, but they need our prayers, a lot of our prayers. But like I said, things go on, and Lloyd's preaching here and there in different churches, different places. We didn't even know this church existed. Didn't have any idea. And I was in a church. We went to church over in Belmont. And the preacher came to me one day and he says, I think you need to lead our school. And I said, well, we ain't out of school. He said, we will if you'll lead it. So I said, sure, I will. So one of the other ladies helped me, and but Tim's brother brought his daughter to our school. Wanted her to be schooled in our school. So that's where we was at. And from what I can understand, Brother Jason's been to our that church and you know, but I didn't know it. I didn't know Brother Jason from Tom, Dick, or Harry. Didn't know Tim from Tom, Dick, or Harry. And Doris I knew from the doctor's office. I knew Doris for a long time. No, that's when I worked at the junction, but when I was going to the doctor's office, I met Doris. And that's when me and Doris would visit when I was in the doctor's office. And I loved going to the doctor's office because she was there. But she soon left and started her own college stuff. And guess what? I went to college too with Doris. And we was partners for a while. Enjoyed each other's company. But when Lloyd was down in bed, the church came to sing to him. Because that little girl said, I want my church to come sing to your husband. And I said, well, tell them come on. I said, it doesn't matter to me. I said, y'all come on. And they did. Honey, they were angels. I'm telling you. Their voices blended so beautifully. They were no piano, no guitar, no nothing, just singing. Beautiful. And Lloyd said, I want you to start going to church. Because he always wanted a church on Saturday out in the field. That's what he wanted. And I said, honey, on Saturday? I've never heard of church on Saturday. I met Tim and Doris. I met them. But anyhow, Lloyd was laying in bed, and we were up and down all the time, and I ended up staying home with him. I had to quit the school and stay at home with him full time. And Tim and Doris was at my house one night, and we were sitting there, and Tim got up to check on Lloyd. He couldn't talk anymore. But that's not the only time they come to my house either. They came several times. But Tim got up to check on Lloyd. And he told me, he said he's gone. And we did, the doctors give us 6 months, probably 2 years before he died. Wasn't it about that? Yeah, about 2. They said he had 6 months to live. No, he broke his hip. And he went in for surgery, had the hip replaced, and he couldn't stand on the hip at all. Because I guess the bones were just too brittle and they just break away. Anyhow, he was bedfast for a year, almost a year, wasn't he? And so I had to take care of him. And that means everything. I mean, he couldn't do nothing. Bless his heart. A man is a man. Whenever they can't do nothing, they just feel like they're nothing anymore. And he couldn't do anything. So, but he could preach. And Kathy was his nurse. And Kathy would come to his house every week. And he'd preach to Kathy. And Kathy would sit there and listen to it. She would always make us her last stop because she knew Lloyd would just talk. Lloyd loved to talk about the Lord. Number one, he loved the Lord and he loved to talk about the Lord. He loved the Bible, and the King James Version. He had all the rest of them translations. Count them, they laid out, but the King James was his Bible, and he loved it. But when he died, I just got up from where I sit and went to the bedroom, and Rachel happened to be there. My daughter was there, and her and Tim and Doris took care of everything. They were a blessing. They really were. They were a blessing. And I thank God for them. I really do. And the last 20 years, y'all know, so I've been here ever since. Mama died in March, and I was here in April.